Broadcasting live from Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Convention Center. It is the KFAN Minnesota Vikings annual National Football League Combine Journey, and I'm Paul Allen. Pete Bercich joins on site. Nordo produces from FM 100.3 KFAN. And joining us now is a sideline analyst, Ben Leber, as we begin Combine 2026 with some broadcast team steam. And Ben joins us now. Ben, Pete and I here in Indianapolis at a jam-packed convention center, which they used to call Radio Row. They still do. They probably could call it Podcast Row because we got a lot of podcasters and just a lot of ancillary things that are popping up here in Indianapolis. And good morning. How are you?
Good morning to you guys as well. So, because you've been there for so long, do you have like the primo podcast spot now, or no?
Well, it changes yearly, and we have great accommodations. That's how the Vikings Entertainment Network rolls. But Pete, wouldn't you say from the last X amount of years we've done this together, this is Combine 16 for me. It's we're in tight quarters. I mean, it's quite cramped in here.
It's growing. I mean, at least a few years that I've been here. But Ben, this is, I don't know if, for anybody out there who's ever worked a trade show. This is a trade.
Right.
This is a trade show. You're in a gigantic open area, and then everybody's got to carve out their little space. You got your little foldable table that probably cost you $500 to run it for 3 days.
Jeez.
Yeah, your little chairs. I mean, it is a complete and total trade show vibe.
Yeah, it is wild. Excuse me, it's wild that I know the league year hasn't started yet, the new league year, but it doesn't this feel like we've just like turned the page on 2025? Like
yes.
This is like the true start of the off season, and it's going to be super exciting. I know that free agency is going to be exciting, should be exciting because we got to make a lot of moves to get under the cap. But I still think that we're going to make some moves there, and then ultimately, as we all know, that's going to kind of dictate the approach for the draft at the end of April.
Well, the interesting thing about the Combine, and we will have interviews with Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, interim general manager, acting general manager Rob Brzezinski. Those will air tomorrow. You'll hear Leslie Frazier today, later in the Combine show. You'll hear Falcons coach Kevin Stefanski tomorrow. And they all have a common thread this time of the year where it's that they've done work on the draft, but not nearly as much as they've done on free agency. So, you talk to some of these coaches and GMs, and what they know now about the draft is going to pale in comparison to what they know even in like a month and change. And, speaking of the draft, I think we can connect some dots here from my plane ride from Minneapolis to Indianapolis yesterday, and here's why. Sources tell me that Ben Leber, our beloved Nacho, is all over a tight end who played last year at Oregon. Can you confirm or deny?
Okay, so I'm not all over him. His name's Kenyon Sadiq.
Okay.
I just proposed. So when I was doing some draft research, there might be some scenarios, very much some scenarios, where you're looking at maybe the fourth best cornerback. You might be looking at the third best defensive lineman, the number one running back in Jeremiah Love, maybe off the board. Mm-hmm. So looking at some of these scenarios that people have already put out there with their mocks, 1.0s and 2.0s, that I was like, well, a guy like Kenyon Sadiq would be very intriguing. If you feel like he's the best available player in a position of need, it was more just thrown out there like, here's a hypothetical. Hey, Vikings fans, how would you feel about this? Would you be upset that we didn't attack get a cornerback or an interior defensive lineman? Mm-hmm. Would you be okay with what we think is a game-changing tight end?
Well, the reason I asked is on our flight here, I sat next to a young man who's like become my new BFF, best friend forever. His name is Atticus Sappington, and he's the kicker for Oregon. He's one of 7 kickers at the Combine, and he was connecting from Portland, sat right next to me. So we talked about a lot of things over an hour and change, and I didn't know until until we got to Indy that you like that Oregon tight end. Well, Atticus and I have exchanged numbers, so we're going to be in touch with each other, and I'm going to try to get some steam on that Oregon tight end from his teammate, the kicker, Atticus Sappington, who already put me on, like we're talking about some Oregon players with whom he played. I can't remember the guy's last name, the safety, Dylan, his first name's
Thieneman.
Thank you. Yeah, well done. So we talked about him for about 5 or 10 minutes. I got no idea where he's going to be drafted, but if we're like cornerback, safety, hybrid type DB, needy, I don't know where this guy's going to be drafted, but Atticus Sappington, the kicker for Oregon, basically made him sound like a combo between Ronnie Lott, Harrison Smith, and Cam Chancellor. So I'm like, okay, it'd be cool to draft somebody like that. I don't know if you guys know anything about him. I hadn't heard of him until that plane flight yesterday, but we have an Oregon in to get everything we need for that tight end that everybody tells me you love.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't want to put this out there without being 100% true. It might have been Daniel Jeremiah. One of his latest mock drafts had Dylan Thieneman going to the Vikings at 18, and it turned a lot of heads because I think he had him rated higher than Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo, who's a little bit bigger body. He's probably more of your true Cam Chancellor type of player, big-time hitter, rangy, but maybe not as rangy as Thieneman. So I think it really turned a lot of Vikings heads because they're like, wait a minute, we've been talking about these cornerbacks that could be there. Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State, he's for sure going to be gone, probably most certainly a top 10 pick. So I think a lot of people just looked at the safety position as like, okay, well, there's probably not going to be a guy at 18 that we would covet that much. And according to DJ, he was like, listen, the Thieneman, every time you put on the tape of Thieneman, he just splashes. He looks like the type of guy that, he looks like a young Harrison Smith. And he kind of joked around about how he's like, listen, there's no rule that you have to replace one white safety with another white safety. But, it definitely would maybe work out in the Vikings' favor if he saw the 18.
That's Ben Leber. He's the sideline analyst. Pete Bercich and yours truly, Paul Allen, in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine. We're in the booth at Indianapolis. Ben's our sideline analyst. We call this broadcast team steam.
Yeah, I think there are a number of different positions. You talked about tight end, where at 18 you might get the best of the bunch. And don't, in the tight end position, I think you have to consider a little bit. I mean, say what you want about TJ Hockenson. He was their number 2 receiver. He had 51 receptions last year. And depending on how this offense is going to change and who's going to be running it at the quarterback position, that tight end might be even more and more important. The other spot, Ben, that you can also get maybe the pick of the litter is center, or and then linebacker, inside linebacker is another area. So safety, the middle of offenses and defenses, right? The guys on the edges, the corners and the offensive tackles and the wide receivers, those guys get paid a lot of money. But when you're at 18, you might find some value. You might get the pick of the litter at the center position, because that's, again, looking at the positions of need, things that have to be figured out. Center, running back, linebacker, safety. We need safeties and cornerbacks, and then interior defensive linemen. And I think we've proven it with guys like Levi Drake Rodriguez and Jalen Redmond. We can find value elsewhere or later in the draft. But some of these premium positions, I mean, I just don't see them going edge, because you got enough talent in that room unless someone falls to us. But I don't think that tight end is out of the question. I don't think safety's out of the question either. And then I guess with everything, when you look at corners and you look at safeties, the coverage skills are not the most important thing with this defense. It's your ability to tackle, right? And if you're a safety, if I want to know who the best tackling, hardest hitting, best blitzing safety is in this draft.
Yeah,
I really don't care about coverage skills in that regard, because if you might have a guy playing deep middle every once in a while, or really designated in that regard, but even for the cornerback position, physicality in this defense matters quite a bit.
Yeah, and I'll just say that my hope, if I'm going to forecast this thing, is, I guess a couple things that you were talking about there, Pete, was, the reason why a tight end might be enticing is just T.J. Hawkinson. You mentioned the receptions that he had this year. He does have the highest cap number of any tight end in the league.
Ooh.
And we are certainly up against the cap as far as being able to spend money. So
100%.
Since we're upside down with salary cap, he just seems like the most logical guy to either get moved or, you have to readjust his contract, and whether he's willing or not to do that, we don't quite know yet. So that might be a position of need just because, we subtracted a guy and now all of a sudden it's a giant hole. When you look at the offensive centers, I sort of look at that's an area where free agency is going to be paramount. I'm not sure you want to put in, let's just say J.J. McCarthy is your quarterback. We all know that he's still young, still very, very inexperienced. Do you want to put a rookie center underneath, that he's got to take snaps from, and you still have then Donovan Jackson as a young guard to your left? I look at that as a position of, if we can save some money in the salary cap and we have money to spend, go out and get a veteran center. He can provide some stability, some leadership instantly without having to work through things as a young player. Now, when it comes to defensive tackles, this will be really interesting because, as you were talking about, I don't know if we technically need a quote-unquote edge rusher, but there are several guys in this draft that could be moved down into, what we would call maybe a 5 technique or a 3 technique. Keldrick Falk from Auburn, he's a 6'6", 285-pound guy. He's played outside. He certainly can move to the inside. Even a guy like Peter Woods, he's a bigger body guy, but he gives you a little bit more than just a big run stopper. He can be a little bit more athletic on the inside. So as the people are looking at this combine coming up, don't just turn your eye and say like, oh, we're not looking at an edge rusher. Look at some of these bigger body guys that are technically edge rushers, and will they mature into kind of a hybrid, versatile player that can play on the interior defensive line? Because I think that's still an option as well.
You're the very best. Thanks for helping with Broadcast Team Steam. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you soon, all right?
Yeah, have fun, guys. Enjoy it.
See you, bud.
Oh, we will.
Yep, that's Ben Leber. Watch him today on Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 on Channel 5, beloved Nacho Leber. Nordo produces 9 to noon. And coming up in the next segment, Emmett Johnson, who was a standout running back at Richfield's Holy Angels, led the Big Ten in rushing yards last year and led the nation in all-purpose yards. And Emmett is going to join the 9 to noon Combine presentation around the corner, part of the TimberTech What's on Deck set list, followed by Jordan Reid from ESPN. He's a draft analyst. He'll be on site here in the neighborhood of 940. Field Yates, ESPN draft analyst. He'll be with us at about 10:40 Central. Also, Greg Cosell from NFL Films. He'll be here at about 11 o'clock. And Leslie Frazier will amplify the scenario in the final segment of the radio show. Nordo produces. He's Pete Bercich. I'm Paul Allen. Welcome to Indianapolis, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2026 National Football League Combine. Matt, producer, tells 9 to noon that we have an A, Talkback Tuesday sponsor, and B, we have some talkback opportunities for you today, tied with a prize. And here's Eric. Good morning, Nordo.
Good morning, brothers. And he's right. It's a Talker Tuesday, 9 to noon, and it's presented by Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply. That means I'm looking for the tastiest talkback of the day on the free iHeartRadio app. Who is a player you love or a position you love? Already getting steam from the boys in the first segment. Who do you love or a position you love into the draft, and why? What's your name? Where are you from? Hit us on the free iHeartRadio app with the Talkback feature. One of you will win a $25 gift card to Northern Fire. We need our favorite team to up their game. You can up your grill game with Northern Fire Grilling and Barbecue Supply in Minnetonka. Get those talkbacks rolling. And as you heard, a Minnesota native, Cornhuskers running back Emmett Johnson. Hear him chat with PA next, 9 to noon.
To to the 2026 Indianapolis Scouting Combine. I've been excited to play this for you for quite some time. It is Emmett Johnson, Nebraska Cornhusker running back. He's at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, and he's going to be drafted in the 2026 NFL Draft. And we'll start it like this. My main man, holy cow, looky here. All that hard work down in Lincoln is complete, and your dream of running the ball in the National Football League is near. How fantastic is that?
Man, it's a blessing. I'm extremely blessed to be in this position. I'm extremely blessed to be honoring God through the game of football, man. And, it's a lot of hard work, it took me to get to this point, but this isn't the ending point. This is just the beginning, man. I got a lot more things in store that I plan for myself. And I just know that, whatever NFL team picks me up is going to get, a great player on the field, but also a better person. And I'm just ready to dominate the next level.
That's beautiful. Emmett is a Minnesotan who played at Holy Angels Richfield. Now, last year for the Huskers, he ran for 1,451 yards. And that's the most of anybody in the Big Ten. That's absolutely fantastic. So to get ready for the Combine, Emmett, what are you doing down in Miami?
Yes, sir, man. I'm training in Miami, speed training and also strength training. Doing a lot of different things to focus on getting stronger and faster. Kind of training like a track athlete, to be honest. But it's been a lot of mental tests, ups and downs of grinding. Some days you may feel better than other days, but it's just putting your head down and working and trusting in the process, and then it's gonna lead to success at this combine.
Okay, well, watching you from afar and knowing you for several years now, you're already fast and you're already strong. So what is there to train?
Man, you can always get better. There's no limits to greatness, man. You can always get better at everything. And so for me, I'm never going to be satisfied with how, great I am. I'm always going to want more. And so you can never be too fast or too strong. It's never going to hurt you to do that, and especially at the next level with how fast the game is and how strong everybody is. I definitely want to be on top of my game to dominate at this level. You,
of course, remember when Adrian Peterson ran here, right?
Yes, sir, of course.
Okay.
I grew up watching AP.
Well, there we go. Okay, so AP's got some HOF to him, one of the greatest in the history of the National Football League. One thing, and I'm certainly not comparing you to Adrian, but one thing I could tell in 2007 calling Adrian's games is, yeah, the jump cuts are great. Yes, the speed is elite. Yes, he's unbelievably strong. But Adrian put the hits on the defenders, if you know what I mean. And when in the times I watched you play last year, you correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never asked you this. You pride yourself in that, don't you? Being the one to initiate the contact when you know it's coming.
Yes, sir, man. I'm glad you said that. I do. I definitely do. I grew up watching AP, and I feel like that's where I got my downhill physical running from. A lot of people don't know, man. I can do inside zone, outside zone. I can catch the ball. And so just that violence aspect, especially as a running back, setting the tone and setting the message is huge. But I think it's really scary when you can run through somebody and make somebody miss. It makes it tough for a defender. So I think just being versatile and having both of those has been a special part of my game. But yeah, as a running back, man, you want to set the tone for guys and make it hard on defenders, and I feel like that's what my game does.
Emmett, now, does your agent or does your family like has everybody gotten you set up for these interviews coming? These 20-minute chats with coaches and GMs and player development people are going to try to poke into everything. Are you ready for those?
Yes, sir. I'm ready for those, but most important, I'm just gonna go in there and be myself, man. I feel like the interview process is just who I am, and showing these teams who I am as a person and who I am as a player. But I'm definitely excited, man. I'll have no problem with these interviews. I'm just gonna go in there and be myself, like I said, and dominate, and just I'm excited for this next chapter of my life.
Emmett, you're going to kill the interviews. I mean, let's be honest. You're a wonderful, open, God-loving young man who tells the truth. They vetted out so many things about you over the last 3 years you don't even know about that are positive. So, I mean, You're well-spoken, eloquent, man. You're going to go in there and kill those. I can't wait to hear about them. This is Emmett Johnson, Nebraska Cornhuskers running back, and he also played at Holy Angels in Richfield. He's going to be drafted in the 2026 NFL Draft. Now, here in Indianapolis, Emmett, what drills matter to you most? Like, which ones do you want to do really well at?
Every single drill, man. I want to do well in every single thing. I feel like I would be a fraud if I said I wanted to be good at one thing and not the other. So I'm here to dominate everything. I'm doing every single drill, every single test, because I'm here to compete. And, I've been counted out my whole life, and so I'm going to show the world, who I am and show these coaches that I'm the best running back in this draft.
You had some sweet receiving touchdowns last year in Lincoln for the Huskers. Has catching the ball and subsequently turning up the field and doing the right thing, has catching the ball always been comfortable to you, or have you had to work on it?
Yes, sir. I've always been comfortable catching the ball. I came into high school and I was playing some slot receiver, and even at a younger age, I've been able to catch naturally. But I would definitely say that's a part of my game that, continue to improve throughout my career. I feel like me and my brother waking up every single day, my older brother, Charles Johnson, catching 200 passes every single morning. We'll get up early morning, catch 200 passes. And that way where I get to the game, I know that I've already done it, 1,000 times. And so catching the ball isn't a problem for me. And I'm able to do things out of the backfield and also out of the slot. I feel like other runners don't really have that. And I would definitely just call myself a wide back, to be honest, because I could run the whole route tree. And I've studied the great receivers. I'm constantly in touch with, Larry Fitzgerald, who obviously is one of the greatest to do it and played at my high school. So I'm definitely learning a lot about the receiving game, and I feel like I'll be able to affect the next level that way, just as much as running the ball.
When you watched Kenneth Walker Jr., Kenneth Walker in the Super Bowl, Kenneth Walker the second or junior, can't remember, but nevertheless, Kenneth Walker, when you watched him win that MVP in Super Bowl 60, what'd you see? I mean, he's not the tallest in the world. He's thick up top, kind of like you, and he's fast, kind of like you. Yeah. So, like, when you watched Kenneth Walker, what'd you see?
Yes, sir, man. First off, just, congrats to him and on that. But, I definitely, my brother texted the group chat and was just like, I told him, I said, I'm going to be the next one to do that.
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of, similarities in that. But I just definitely know that from watching these backs at the next level, I know my game fits the next level really well. And that I'm not just coming into the NFL just to be another running back. I'm trying to dominate and be the best at it. So, yeah, props to him, but I'm definitely ready to kill this with this next level.
And EJ, it'd be great if you ended up being as good as Jahmyr Gibbs. That would be phenomenal. But like last year, they started using Jahmyr in the slot, and they started lining him up very rarely, but occasionally outside the numbers. And he's a running back. So I think the NFL with these running backs, you're right, man. I mean, they're going a certain way where it's not just, offset eye or straight eye or single back or pistol or we're just going to, do this to do play action to get the linebackers or safeties to bite. Nah, man, if you got catching skills, they're lining running backs up in the NFL all over the place these days, aren't they?
Yeah, man. Like I said, the game is transitioning, and I feel like that fits my game. Like I said, I think that's why my game is going to be so effective at the next level. I believe I'll be a better professional player than college player just because of that ability and how the game's changing, with Gibbs, James Cook, McCaffrey, Bijan, all these guys that are catching the ball at the backfield. I watch a lot of their games, and I just know I'm ready to dominate.
Now, Emmett Johnson at Nebraska, it was slow to go. A couple of years, a little slow to go. I don't know whether he was better than the guys in front of him or not. That's not my business. But I know when he got an opportunity, holy cow, 1,451 rushing yards. So opportunity for you ended up leading to big-time success. With that said, Emmett, how much did Coach Matt Rule play into the big season you had last year?
Sir, man, I would just say, the culture, he's built here. And like you said, man, the opportunity, it's always been about my opportunity to play at this level. And I just feel like, the mindset that he gave this team, we've been through a lot of ups and downs, but just allowing us to go out there and play free will be the aspect of it. For me, I've always spent a lot of time on my game, just in the off-season training on things I need to get better. And I would definitely say, the moments and the years that I spent 475 days, without getting my first handoff, I took that really personal, man. I spent a long time doing that, and every time I was working and not getting what I wanted, which was not playing, I just work even harder. And I feel like that's what led to me having that success when I got my opportunity, because my whole life people told me I couldn't do this, couldn't do that, wasn't a D1 player. I've been counted out my whole life. Even now, after leaving the country in all-purpose yards, I'm being counted out. But
wow.
I'm just here to show the world who I am, as a person. And I just know that all the hard work that I put in up to this point is going to continue to rise above others, just because I've been through adversity. I know how to handle that throughout the ups and downs, and I have a lot of faith in God. And God has just got me through this whole process too.
Amen. He didn't have to choose you get to be in this spot, but he did. And so therefore make the best of it for him. I'm just really, really glad that you identify that. And that's really what brought Emmett and I together. But hold on. You went nearly 500 days without a carry while you were at Nebraska. Why didn't you transfer?
Yes, sir. Because I had a lot of self-belief in myself and a lot of self-belief in God, man. Obviously, this day and age, guys don't get what they want and they kind of quit or go somewhere else. I've never been afraid of competition my whole life. I thrive myself off competition. So I knew that eventually I would get my opportunity if I just kept showing up and going to work every single day and just making it undeniable. Making it undeniable, and so they couldn't say no to it or, couldn't take me off the field. And that's the same thing going into the next level. I know obviously adversity is a part of the journey, but I just know that I've been through a lot, and I'll be able to dominate this next level just because I'm going to make sure I have no weakness. You can ask my running back coach, Coach E.J. Barthel. I would always bother him when I wasn't playing. I would come in his office and say, what are the things I need to do to get better, and how can I get on the field?
Yeah.
And I was constantly in his office asking him every single day. And he knows, too. He can tell you the story, but he knew I was going to dominate when I got the opportunity just because I'd always come to him and ask what I can get better on. And then I think being coachable is really important in this game of football. And I think at this next level, matter of fact, I don't think I know, these coaches will be able to love my mentality when it comes to being coachable and always wanting to be better.
My main man, Emmett Johnson, Nebraska Cornhuskers running back, and formerly with Holy Angels of Richfield. Couple to close here. Is it E.J. Barthel? That's what you said?
Yes, sir. My running back coach.
Okay.
Yes,
well, there are one of two ways to handle that conversation when you're going about 500 days not playing. One is to go in there and say, "Shh, don't tell anybody that I'm saying this, E.J." But this guy sucks, and you know it. And his pass protection's terrible. He keeps dropping passes. He's not in the playbook. Or, what can I do to make the ones in front of me better? And what can I do, EJ, to make myself better? And clearly, you took the second approach. That's that's important, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely important. Like I said, I don't really compare my journey to others. I just use my journey to help, others. And I think that definitely just comes from, a lot of people compare each other, how much money this person gets. For me, it was never really about the money part aspect. I just cared about playing football and playing at a high level just to get to the NFL. And so everybody's journey is different. I don't compare myself to anybody else, but I just control what I can. And that's my effort and attitude and how I attack every single day.
Good.
And that's what led to my success. You never want to compare yourself to somebody else.
My man, preach with that. So what have you told yourself, Emmett? What have you told yourself? Hey, this is the spot I think, or this is the spot I think I'm going to be drafted.
In terms of a team?
Yeah, no, just like a spot, like a round 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever.
I believe I'm a first-round draft pick, and, I know that I'm the best running back in this draft class, and everybody will see that soon. Like I said, man, I keep God first, and I'm going to let him handle that, but I know I'm a first-round draft pick, and I'm the best running back in this draft, and these coaches will see that.
All right, well, say this happens. How are you going to feel if Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love is drafted ahead of you?
That's his path, that's his journey, and I wish him the best. But I just know
you're the best.
When it comes to me, I'm the best. Yeah,
you're fantastic, man. But I don't know if I'm a surrogate uncle to you. The advice would be don't go online and read like where people think you should be drafted and like the positives and negatives. Know what I mean?
Yeah, that stuff. Like I said, I'm going to control what I can, and that's just dominating the combine and letting everybody else, they can do the work on the internet. I kind of have this motto, which is TOTN, tune out the noise that me and my brother go by. We just tune out everything and just focus on what we can control. And so, you know, people are going to talk and say that, but like I said, the work is going to show, and what's done in the dark is always going to come to light.
Pass protection, big separator in the National Football League for running backs. What have you learned are keys to blitz pickup and knowing what to do in pass pro?
Yeah, what you just said, the knowing part, the IQ of it. I feel like a big part of pass pro is understanding where the lineman's going and who your PBR is, and that's the primary pressure responsibility. And so at the next level, you know, you want to know who you're picking up, but also know the right techniques, and that's like closing with distance, beating them with speed, getting the hands inside. I feel like pass pro is all just want to. You have to want to do it. It's something that you have to sacrifice. For me, I care about it just as much as making a big run or a big catch for a touchdown. Like, it's extremely important to me, and I know taking care of the quarterback is really important to me. And so going into these meetings, you know, I'm treating it like I'm an old lineman. I'm protecting the hell out of my quarterback and doing whatever it takes. But just know, like I said, man, whatever it takes for the team to win, that's what I'll be willing to do. And pass pro is just another step of that.
You of course know who Emmett Smith and Walter Payton are, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Well, I don't know if you can find this. I've seen it somehow, but I just know it from calling games in the NFL so long. If you can find YouTube or whatever, Emmett Smith or Walter Payton pass protection, I mean, okay, great runners, great catchers, Hall of Famers, best ever. I mean, they lit those linebackers up, man. I mean, they lit them up because they knew where to go. They had the leverage. They were well prepared, like you said. And so that'd be something to find that I think would be cool for you to watch. And, hey, you know what, man? When you're in the cities, when you're back in the cities, let's you, me, and CJ, your brother, get together and go to a Timberwolves game, and maybe you guys come in studio, okay?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely, man. I'm looking forward to meeting you or seeing you again. And, you know, it's always been a blessing being able to get to know you and things like that. You know, God bless you, Paul, and thanks for giving me this opportunity to do this today. I appreciate it.
Minnesota native and Cornhuskers running back Emmett Johnson, a little draft chat with PA. And speaking of the draft, when we return, looking for elite opinions and takes, not just into the combine, but of course into April's draft, where the Vikings sit at 18 and more. Pete Bercich, PA, and ESPN's Jordan Reid are going to be live from Indianapolis next. It's 9 to...
Hey guys, Max from Egan here. I know safety is a need for this team in this draft, but if we wanted to wait a little longer into one of the later rounds, Xavier Wampa out of Iowa is a cold-blooded killer. He has a nose for the football. He loves contact. He loves to hit people, and he knows how to play the ball. Yeah, we could probably get him a lot later than some of these bigger names, but that kid's a dog, and he knows how to play football. Thanks. Bye.
All right, welcome back to the 2026 National Football League Scouting Combine. This right here is Jordan Reid, draft analyst for ESPN, longtime friend of the radio shows, and yours truly. And you have to be excited, man. It's the 2026 Combine. What do you think?
I'm excited, PA. It's like the lead up to Christmas for me. You know, this is like our holy grail, our lead up to Christmas before we get to April. So I'm excited to see how these players come out here and play. But also, my first interview every year is always my buddy. Right
is
here,
it really?
PA. I always love joining you and Pete, man. That's tradition. Well, 5 years ago was my first combine.
You cost me.
You gave me a chance.
You cost me money this year. You did. You just cost me money.
You didn't spill the coffee because of him.
No, that was Curly that spilled the coffee.
Oh.
What I'm saying
you
is
didn't hit your knee on that on the table because of Jordan. Okay, we just watched Pete go pear-shaped in over about 45 seconds with a coffee spill, a hit of a knee, and then Jay Reid rolls in, and now we got to start thinking about the draft.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if we are your first interview every year, you must be going alphabetically, starting at Allen.
No, not at all. 5 years ago, you know, was my first combine, and you were the first person that actually gave me my first interview. So that's like a little tradition
that
I have every single year.
You're so nice. Now we at KFAN, the home of the Vikings, Nordo is the producers taking some talkbacks today, and we just had a really good one from somebody involving a player named from Iowa, Xavier Wampa. my man on the talkback formulated some opinions. What can you tell us about him?
Hey, he's a fun player, man. He came in as a very highly touted recruit into Iowa. Didn't quite live up to the expectations that a lot of people had of him. He's more so of your box safety that can come down really strong against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Does need to improve in some facets against coverage. Not somebody you really want playing a whole bunch of man coverage, but in zone, he has really good eyes. He can make plays on the ball, too. So more of a later round guy, but he's going to have to come in and play special teams. That's where he's going to have to make his living, but eventually you hope he can develop into something more.
All right, now for those of you who follow Jordan's work at ESPN.com, writing about the draft and stuff like that, it's year-round. Now, as I said in the opening segment, what's interesting about the Combine when you talk to coaches and some general managers, but specifically coaches, they're like, all right, well, I can talk about the draft a little bit, but, I'm all in on free agency right now. So for you who focuses on the draft year-round, how much changes from what you start writing about during the season, end of the season, after the Senior Bowl, where we are now, up to the draft? Is it a fluid situation?
It is, and you pay very close attention to free agency just because if they feel that need in free agency, let's say the Vikings do go out and sign a safety or a cornerback, that's something that you pay attention to because the need won't be as pressing, or they won't look to draft somebody as early just because they paid a lot of money or they filled some depth spots at those positions. So you always want to pay close attention to free agency just because that probably pushes that need down the board a little bit for some of those teams.
All right, so speaking of areas of need, just give me at 18 who you think which way they could go. So we're looking at a center, running back position, maybe inside linebacker, obviously safety and corner,
D tackle,
interior defensive tackle. At the safety position, is there anybody there that's worthy of the 18, or is somebody later on that you think could provide a lot of value?
Well, assuming that Caleb Downs out of Ohio State is gone, unless something catastrophic happened, he shouldn't be there at 18. But two players that I think would be great additions. The first one is Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon. He's one that I think they're going to like quite a bit. He can play. He played mostly free safety during his time at Purdue. He was that middle of the field guy that really ran sideline to sideline, that mistake eraser on the back end. But at Oregon, they really allowed him to play three different positions. He played that nickel spot, he played some strong safety, and he was interchangeable at that free safety spot. So he's one that I think they'll have quite a bit of interest in. And the other is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo. He's one that's just steadily skyrocketed up boards throughout the season. So he's one I think is going to be an elite tester as well. So he's one I definitely think is going to be in contention for the pick at 18 too.
Which one's the best blitzer? We only blitz about 40% of the time, so we need to know who's the best one.
I think McNeil-Warren is the better blitzer. He's a little bit more physical, just because he has more experience around the line of scrimmage. But I think Thieneman is a little bit more sure of a tackler.
All right.
And I'm glad you said that. Now, I had heard the name Dylan Thieneman, but didn't really know anything about him. So I said this in the opening segment. This is just how God put this plane flight, and it was incredible. We're flying from Minneapolis to Indianapolis, and I got this kid next to me wearing Oregon garb. And we introduce ourselves, and his name is Atticus Sappington. So he's one of 7 kickers here. So he and I talked the entire flight about a million different things, and he was telling me about Dylan, and he was just telling me about his work ethic, how he's a zero problem off the field, a lot of things you just said, and I'm like, well, this sounds good enough to eat. This sounds like exactly something Brian Flores is looking for. And now you're saying Dylan Thieneman, he could be a first round, definitely a top 20 pick.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, we got to get him.
Yeah, if you want him, you're probably going to have to take him at 18, just because he's probably not going to be there in the second round, just because of how consistent he is in every single facet. It's very rare to find a safety that's interchangeable like that on the college level. A lot of times you get either or. Either he's a strong safety or a free safety, but he's had experience at both. He's going to come in and be a key contributor on special teams as well, and he has a ton of ball production too, so I think he would be a great fit.
Now, my new best friend forever, Atticus Sappington, also was saying some good things this morning about Oregon tight end Kenyon Sadiq. What do you know about him?
fantastic player, man.
Is he?
I'm a big fan of Kenyon Sadiq. A little bit undersized at about 6'2", 240 pounds, but I think he's going to be the talk of the combine when we're talking about as far as testing. He's probably going to jump over 40 inches in the vertical. I think he's probably going to run somewhere in the high 4.4s, and he could even exceed 11 feet in the broad jump. That wouldn't be surprising at all. He's that true traditional F tight end, but he does have some capabilities of blocking as well. He's more of a try-hard guy that can generate some movement. He's not somebody that, he's not a George Kittle type or anybody like that, but he can get in the mix and be involved in the running game, especially on those single blocks. There's no sense of him being a coward or anything like that as far as a blocker. So he definitely will put his face in the fan and roll his sleeves up and get dirty. He definitely is willing to do that. But where he's going to come in and change your offense right away is the receiving aspect. He's a great seam runner. They do a lot of tight end leaks and tight end wheels with him as well. So I think Kevin is going to, if they do end up taking him, he'll be a really good weapon for Kevin.
Jordan Reid, ESPN draft analyst, longtime friend of the radio shows. Combine number 6 for you?
Yes, sir.
Combine number 6 for Jordan Reid, ESPN.com. Follow all of his work. He's really, really good at what he does with the draft. Pete?
Give me some day 2 running backs.
Well, Jadarian Price, running back out of Notre Dame, he's one that I like. Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest is somebody that I think they're going to like quite a bit just because of the receiving aspect that he brings to the table. Really good in pass protection as well. He's similar to Sadiq, of where somebody that's a try-hard guy, not scared to put his face in the fan either, but he's so electric, Pete. He's one of those consistent guys that you can use in the backfield. You can split him out wide. You even can put him in some advantageous situations against some linebackers and safeties as well. So Damon Claiborne is one name to definitely keep an eye on that I think that they're going to like quite a bit. And another, Minnesota's own Emmett Johnson. Yeah. He's one that I think they're going to like quite a bit too. He brings an explosive factor to the table.
So we actually the chat before you was Emmett Johnson. I recorded it over the weekend. He went to Richfield's Holy Angels. Pete's son Ryan played with him at Holy Angels. Awesome. So we've both known Emmett for a while, and his brother CJ, just wonderful young man. And 1451 at Nebraska last year, led the Big Ten, led the NFL in all-purpose yards. And with Emmett, correct me if I'm wrong here, because he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's fast, he's physical, pass protection always has meant a lot to Emmett Johnson, which I think is going to help him in the draft. But is he one of those running backs that puts the hit on you? He's just a physical kind of guy, isn't he?
He is. He definitely brings what I like to call physicality to the party, but also he has a lot of juice of where he can move around and, he can avoid a lot of people as well. And I think that's what was missing from Minnesota's offense last year. They didn't have, remember when Dalvin used to take those 6-yard runs and turn them into 60-yard runs? That's what Emmett Johnson is capable of, and I just think that's missing inside the Vikings offense right now.
All right, now we have a teammate at KFAN as part of the morning show, the Power Trip morning show, named his nickname is Meat Sauce, and he loves the NFL draft probably more than anybody on our staff. So he sent me 6 questions, and we're calling it 6 for Sauce. So I'm going to use the first one for you, 6 for Sauce. All Jordan right. Reid, a high-end ESPN draft analyst. Who is the best defensive player in the draft? Who's the best defensive player in the draft, period?
It'd be Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State to me. And he's not the physical freak that we've seen in years past, like Derwin James and Kyle Hamilton, Ed Reed, Eric Berry. He's not those. But as far as instinctive, how smart he is, the different positions that he can play, the leadership that he's going to bring right away. We're talking about somebody that's been an All-American at 2 blue blood programs at Alabama and Ohio State. I just don't see how this guy ends up being a bust in the NFL, and I think he's going to be a very high-caliber starter. The player that he reminds me of is Budda Baker out in Arizona. Very similar players, about 5'10", 195 pounds, but somebody that's really physical, could play around the line of scrimmage. You could put him in man coverage as well. I definitely think he's one of those guys that can wear a green dot on the next level. That's how high I think of Caleb Downs.
Pete? I think another big, not that we'll be, let's say, walking in these waters, but Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, 2 linebackers from Ohio State. Talk to them. Who's better of the 2, and where do you think the 2 of them are going to go?
Strictly as a linebacker, Pete, I think Sonny is better. But if we're talking about the totality and the versatility, then Arvell is going to give you more. And that's why you're seeing so many debates on where exactly is Arvell going to call home as a position, edge rusher or linebacker. I've went back and forth a million times, honestly, about it. I like him better as a linebacker right away, but he can develop into something more as an edge rusher, especially if you're taking somebody, let's say the Jets at number 2 overall. You're not going to take an off-ball linebacker at number 2 overall. But if you place him at defensive end and you interchange him back and forth, now you're getting more value for that spot. But I have Sonny as my 8th overall player, and I have Arvell as my number 4 overall player, and I think both are going to end up going inside the top 10.
Now, the Atlanta Falcons general manager just did his press conference, and he confirmed first day of the league year, the Falcons are going to cut Kirk Cousins. Okay, so now, Jordan Reid also was a Vikings fan from Randy Moss days gone by. That's really how we met. It was Ford Field on a Thanksgiving and just things like that. It's a long story. So following the squad as closely as you do, McCarthy had some good moments nearing the end of the season, 23 years of age. Now you got a full off season with him. But Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, who you will hear tomorrow on these airwaves, has been open saying that, we want a veteran backup who will compete with J.J. McCarthy. You know all the names. Is there anything that jumps out to you where you think this would be a good veteran to be in that room to help J.J. and also compete with him?
So there's 3 names, and I think one of these 3 guys are going to end up being the starter in Minnesota. One is Kirk Cousins, the other is Geno Smith, and then the other is Mac Jones. I think those are the 3 names that they are going to end up discussing.
Geno Smith, though, how'd you come up with that?
I think the Raiders are going to either trade or cut Geno just because they want to give the keys to Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
And if you just throw away last year, and I know he wasn't very good last year, Geno was a very serviceable starter in Seattle. And I just think with Geno, he brings that veteran presence that, can run the offense at a somewhat pedestrian type of level. He's not going to go out there and be an absolute disaster. And I think Kevin wants somebody that can bring back the down the field element part of the offense too.
Yes, sir.
And I think Geno is somebody that does play the position fearless, and he's not scared to take chances down the field.
Interesting.
So it's honestly, it's not a best option, but I think bringing in a veteran like Geno Smith, somebody that can challenge and be high-quality insurance in case J.J. doesn't turn out to be the player that they thought he would be, I think Geno could be a viable option.
All right, Jordan. Jordan has a lot of things to do. Time for 2 more, Pete.
We'll go back to college. I didn't know you did I didn't know the pro side of it. The pro personnel wing was open up.
Well, he talked about all these veterans in the league now, over the last 5, 6, 7 years. So
those notes are still valuable,
right? But interesting to see the notes and the brain power, and then see what they become compared to what you saw in college. That's a fascinating part of the job.
Let's talk interior defensive linemen real quick. Looking at the list, right? You got Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, Caden McDonald, Leo Hunter. Any of those guys available at 18, and if so, which ones? And who's your favorite of that group?
I think all those guys will still be on the board, honestly. I think the run on defensive tackles probably starts at 16 with the Jets. I think that's where you see your first interior defender come off of the board. But I look at Peter Woods. I think somebody like him could come in and be that big impactful guy in the middle, something that the Vikings really haven't had in a long time, that disruptive 3 technique, that guy that can get up the middle. He can play some 1, he can play some nose. With how much Brian Flores really interchanges those guys up front, he has experience playing the 5 and the 7 last year. He played more so 0, 1, and 3 this past season, but he has some experience with actually standing up at 305 pounds, 6'2". So I think Peter Woods definitely would be a viable option. But if they want to get somebody, if they want to trade up in the second round or anything like that, I think Caleb Banks is somebody that I think they'll have a lot of interest in as well.
I think Jalen Redmond just unfollowed you on Twitter.
Outside of Jalen Redmond.
No, Jalen's in the mix for sure. What do you think of Darrell Jackson Jr., Florida State Seminole, defensive tackle, 6'5" and change, 328, 2-time honorable mention, all ACC last couple of years?
Humongous dude.
Really?
Close, man. He's every bit of the measurables that you listed. Had an opportunity to see him throughout the season and at 2 All-Star games over the past month as well. He participated in the Shrine game and then also at the Senior Bowl as well, and he was a standout in both of those games. Probably ends up going somewhere late 2nd, early 3rd round, if I had to guess. That's really where that run of these defensive tackles that we're talking about could continue on into there. But once again, explosive up the field. It's just consistency with him. I want to see him put it all together, just because I think he has early day 2 talent, but just the hot and cold flashes with him, I think he needs to clean that up.
Of these guys, who, in keeping our defensive scheme in mind, which one of them's got the best bull rush? Because we'll send 7, 8 guys at one time, walk them all up on the line of scrimmage, and a lot of times the shortest path is just over the guy in front of you. So bull rushing, in my opinion, is extremely valuable. Which one of these, the guys that we're talking about, is the most powerful.
It's strictly bull rush. You're talking about Lee Hunter, who's one of my favorite players overall, regardless of position in this year's class. Came from UCF to Texas Tech. He was the hub of that defense, man. You hear about David Bailey and Romello Hyatt and Jacob Rodriguez and all these other players, but
this guy, Christian Miller,
the player that made it go was Lee Hunter, and also Christian Miller.
Oh, my bad. Lee Hunter.
I mean, Christian Miller's, we didn't even talk about him. He's another player that probably ended up going in round 2.
Jeez.
Was only a one-year starter at Georgia, but he has he put some exciting stuff on film, too.
All right, lastly, we promise. I was chatting with some people earlier today. Fernando Mendoza will go first to the Las Vegas Raiders. To close, do you think Mendoza fits in the NFL and, like at what level? Do you think he'll be really, really good or whatever? Secondly, I've been told now by 2 people this morning, it's like, good things the Vikings don't need to draft a quarterback because this ain't a great quarterback draft. I mean, it's just like, one guy said it's a bad quarterback draft if you're looking for quarterbacks who can help you for years.
If you're looking for a starter, it is. I think Mendoza, it's debatable about Ty Simpson. I see him more as a day 2 guy. But if you're looking for somebody that could come in and play right away, Mendoza is the only one. Now, if you're looking for a developmental guy or somebody, a late-round lottery ticket, I think this is a great draft for that. You have, Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, Drew Aller at Penn State, who's hurt right now, even Carson Beck at Miami. So if you're looking for a backup to eventually develop, or you're hoping to develop into more, yes.
Yeah.
But this draft isn't one for starters. But on Mendoza, you hear Jared Goff, you hear Kirk Cousins, but the player that he really reminds me of just stylistically is Sam Bradford. He reminds me so much of Sam when he was coming out of Oklahoma, another former number 1 overall pick. The Vikings got a first-hand experience with Sam. Just a naturally accurate quarterback, great leader. The thing that really stands out to me most about Fernando, though, is just the resiliency. Just think of all the moments of adversity he was able to overcome this year, going into Oregon and winning early on in the season, going into Iowa and winning, the big hit against Ohio State on the very first play of the game, the last drive in the fourth quarter against Penn State, taking constant hits against Miami and scoring the game-winning touchdown. So just the moments of adversity he was able to overcome, which is something he's going to have to deal with early on in Las Vegas while they're building up the roster. But I think he has what it takes to succeed.
Do you still live in North Carolina?
I do. Live in Charlotte.
All right. Well, we are at New Orleans, at Tampa Bay, then at San Francisco, the Jets, and so on. You know what the schedule is. Or U.S. Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
You know where we got you anytime you want to come with your wife. Will we see you at a road game this year?
You will. I was just telling Tatum over there that we're definitely going to make it to one game. I'm not sure exactly which one.
Yeah.
But we're definitely coming to one. We haven't been since the game in Detroit.
Yeah. You're awesome, man. God bless you.
Thanks,
I appreciate
always,
you.
PA.
Love you, bud.
Love you too. Thanks, you, buddy.
Jordan Reid, ESPN and ESPN.com. More coverage from Combine 2026 on KFAN and Vikings.com after this.